Looks to me this one was determined that the bus was full.
Any relation in regard to that complaint regarding or substantiating that Ms. Hare was treated differently because of her gender?
I did not determine that, no.
Any conclusions that she was treated differently because of her race?
No.
Any conclusions that she was treated differently because of her disability?
No.
You can scroll down to the next feedback report. Take a minute to review that and then let me know when you're ready.
Sure, we can go with this one.
What were the conclusions here, if any, that you recall?
This one, I believe it was determined that the driver was rude, and we did coach him.
Any conclusions, were there any conclusions that this, the rude treatment was related to Ms. Hare's gender?
Not that I remember seeing, no.
Were there any conclusions that the driver's treatment, or that Ms. Hare was treated differently because of her race?
No.
Are there any conclusions that were made that she was treated differently because of her disability?
I was not under that impression, no.
Those are all my questions.
For this witness?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Hare, you do have an opportunity to ask this witness some questions. If you would like.
No, I don't have any questions. I compromise with the accommodations, and
all right. If you don't have any questions, I don't need testimony. I will allow some closing arguments if you want to, piece together everything. But if you have questions, you can ask him. If not, then we can release him. Do you have any questions for him?
This is like the only response that I ever received, and I think they said we can't include this complaint from September 29th, 2022, and like I said that I made many complaints, like over a dozen, and I have only gotten a response from, I only got like 2 replies from 2 different people.
All right. That again, I think you've already testified to that. If you don't have any questions, that's fine.
Okay.
You don't have any questions for him?
No, I'm done. Thank you.
Okay. All right, Mr. Gacke, thank you for taking time to testify. But
Thank
you
you.
are done.
Thank you.
You have another witness, Attorney Wood?
I do, yes. The next witness is William Henthorn.
Yes.
Hello.
Hello.
If you can please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you are about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, you can lower your hand. Spell your last name for the record, please.
HENTHORN.
All right, Attorney Wood is going to ask you some questions.
Hi, Mr. Henthorn. Can you tell me where you currently work?
I work for the City of Madison's Metro Transit bus system.
Okay, and what is your position?
I'm an operations supervisor.
And how long have you been an operations supervisor?
2.5 years, I believe, as of Monday.
What are your responsibilities in that position?
My responsibilities are to investigate customer complaints, do scheduling for bus drivers, manage radio calls, traffic between other bus drivers, same day, next day scheduling, accident reports, various things.
When investigating public complaints, can you walk me through what is the complaint procedure and what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we have is essentially a database that complaints are entered into from either a public-facing website, or they can call to a customer service representative during the hours that the call center is active, and they'll transcribe it for the complainant. There's an operations supervisor who goes through that database and looks at essentially what's been entered into it. Then you talk to the drivers. You use basically use software to look at playback history to try to figure out who the driver was or what the situation was happening at the time, doing like playback of GPS and information of who the driver was, all that stuff. And you try to correlate that to what the complaint is to identify the situation was. You talk to the drivers if it involves a driver. Sometimes complaints don't involve drivers. And then you can also go and pull the hard drives out of the buses, download footage if it's within a certain time frame or something else hasn't happened. And then you are able to review the footage that then also correlates to the complaint.
In September of 2022, do you recall the complainant, Ms. Hare, filing any complaints with Metro Transit?
I do.
Okay, and what did you have a role in investigating those complaints?
I did. I was in my first month on the job as an operations supervisor and was training in the feedback portion of going through customer databases. And I remember it distinctly because it was so new into my time here as an operations supervisor at Metro Transit.
Okay, can you please turn to Exhibit 7?
Yes, one
Respondents
second.
Exhibit 7.
It'll also be up on your screen, but it may be easier to read. You have a copy.
Yes, pulling it up now. Oh, perfect. This is easier. Yeah. Done. Okay.
I will have to scroll to the extent, obviously, that's the only downside.
Okay.
But
Yeah, I'll keep looking over here in the meantime. I know I had it pulled up, but just what I did with it.
I can make it a little smaller. Hearing.
Okay, Exhibit 7. All right, I have it on my screen now.
Okay, have you seen that document before?
Yes.
And what is that?
This document is it's a record of essentially our database that we reference. This is an output from it that summarizes both what the complainant wrote and the information and 3/2022 that MEWKH is work identifier.
What did you do, if anything, to investigate this complaint?
For this particular complaint, I had trouble identifying which of two drivers it was, so I
Hold on, let's back up. What was the, looking at page 1 of the Exhibit 7, what was the complaint that was made?
the complaint that was made was that a driver had serviced the stop where the complainant was waiting and then left. Or basically the complainant is the thing here listed in additional details. That would have been what the complainant typed to us with the information above as bus number 2201 by Malaysian man. That information up there, route number 2. So that's the information I had to go off of for then trying to follow up on the complaint.
Okay. And the complaint was looking at that additional details before the driver for number 2 route just drove away. I was right in front of the bus door. He didn't even bother to say anything that the disability section were full. This black man chased down the bus to the lights, and then he told us there was no room for my wheelchair. Is that right? Did I read that correctly?
Yes, that's what I would have had to go off of and what I did have to go off of at the time.
Okay. And then what did you do to investigate this particular complaint?
Well, if you scroll down, there's my comments down there, but essentially what I did was I looked at playback and so I did playback. I saw that it was potentially 2 different buses. I talked to the drivers of both buses, which would be there. You see C Brown and Oakville. So I talked to the driver first. So he said he had a full load, so we couldn't load the mobility device passenger. And then I pulled the footage of the incident, and it showed that the driver pulled up, opened the door, and was saying something to the passengers at the stop. And then, so then he left. I couldn't really tell from the playback what the driver was saying to the public, but based on what the driver told me when I asked him about it was that he had been communicating with the passengers at the stop that he didn't have space on the coach.
So, from viewing the footage, there were other passengers that were waiting at that stop. Is that accurate?
Yes, correct.
And did any of those passengers get on the bus? From viewing the footage, there were other passengers that were waiting at that stop. Is that accurate?
Yes, correct.
And did any of those passengers get on the bus?
I don't feel comfortable stating clearly one way or the other. I don't remember.
Okay. But you recall what the driver telling you whether the bus was full or not?
Yes.
Is this uncommon that a bus fills to capacity?
No, it's not uncommon, specifically around periods of heavy travel. When there's a lot of passengers, we very regularly at certain stops have to pass people up. It can be extremely common depending on the time of day and the bus stop.
Okay. And does Metro Transit have a policy on what to do when a bus does reach capacity?
It depends on the frequency of service for the route and whether or not we have available resources to send an overload coach through, essentially.
An overload coach, you mean like a second bus?
Yeah, so we have buses sometimes, not always, available that are basically staged around the city to try to essentially act as sort of a ghost bus to run the route not on the listed schedule to try to help people get to where they're going, but most of the time we don't have that available. We do sometimes, but not always, and it's not really something that's listed for the public.
Okay. And so when someone is waiting for a bus and the bus is filled to capacity, are they denied access to the bus, or is it a wait for the next bus?
Well, so you can't put people off the bus to put more people on the bus. It's essentially first come, first serve as far as bus seating capacity. So if there's no room on the bus, then unfortunately you just have to catch the next bus.
Okay. In your opinion, based on your investigation, was the fact that Miss Hare not able to board the bus related to her gender?
No,
What about her race?
no,
What about her disability?
no.
So if you turn to the next page of Exhibit 7. Have you seen that document before?
Yes.
And what is that?
Just making sure okay. This is the complaint about somebody, a complainant said that a bus driver said to them, you got to quit playing these games. That's why nobody likes you. With regards to a pull cord for a bus stop request for the wrong stop when the passenger intended to ride further along the line.
Okay. And what did you do to investigate this complaint?
For this complaint, I arranged a conversation with the bus driver involved and spoke with him.
Okay. And what did you discuss?
What I discussed was that it was essentially a recommendation that the driver should avoid speaking with the complainant in the future, and that they should be polite and professional, but otherwise refrain from communicating with them.
Regardless of this comment, based on your investigation, was Miss Hare denied access to the bus?
No. If in fact, like the whole situation revolving around this complaint, it involves the complainant using the bus and being present on the bus and being let off eventually at the correct stop once requested.
Okay. In your experience working at Metro Transit, have you had any direct experiences working with or driving the complainant?
Yes, actually, because this was just about a month into my change. I'd previously been a Metro Transit operator at the time. And while doing so, I had known this individual to be sometimes a difficult passenger for operators, non-communicative. You would arrive at a bus stop and the stops where they might be slightly obscured by trees or shelters or something, and that it can be difficult to know whether or not the passenger wanted your coach or a different coach, as they tended to not respond to questions about if they were trying to board your bus or not.
In your opinion, was Miss Hare, based on your investigations and your own experience, was Miss Hare treated any differently because of her gender?
No.
Was she treated any differently because of her race?
No.
Was she treated any differently because of her disability?
No.
Those are all my questions.
All right. Ms. Herr, do you have any questions for this witness? There you go.
Well, yeah, I mean, the driver on the 26th, September 26th, he did not say anything to me. I did not see his lips move. He didn't say anything. I didn't see him say. I was paying attention to him too, like
So
because it was.
yeah. So that's testimony, Ms. Herr. I may allow rebuttal testimony based on this, so you can save that for if I turn it over to you for rebuttal. But right now, you have an opportunity to ask questions of this witness, and if you have none, that's fine. You can say that you have none. But
No, I don't have any questions.
all right, Mr. Henthorn, thank you for taking time to testify. Be excused.
Thank you.
Attorney Wood.
The respondent will close its case. And then I don't, if we can move to admit the exhibits that we referenced.
That's what I was just going to confirm. So I have 2, 3, 4, and 7. Is that the list that
2,
you have?
3, 4.
That wasn't the order that we went
Yes.
in. I mean, obviously we went 3.
Yeah.
I had it as 3, 2, and obviously we referenced 3 again, but 3, 2, 4, 7 basically was.
Yes.
Ms. Herr, let me go ahead and share the screen.
Yes.
Any objection to? We'll start with R2. This email. Any objection to that being admitted as an exhibit? Did you have any objection, Ms. Herr?
Oh, I'm just a second. I'm just at it still. No, this is the accommodation. I don't.
So you're okay with that being admitted?
Yeah,
And then R3 was this letter that was sent to you about the accommodation modification request.
I have it. Yes.
Any objection to that being admitted?
No.
R4. Regarding the service area for one of the paratransit requests, do you have an objection to that being admitted?
No.
And then R7 were the 2 incident reports. Do you have any concerns with those being admitted as an exhibit?
No.
No. Okay. All right. They're all admitted. Anything else, Attorney Wood?
No, nothing else.
All right. Ms. Herr, I will allow you to present rebuttal testimony. So rebuttal is addressing new information that came out from the respondent's testimony. So for example, that one about the bus driver making the comment to the public, that would be new information. So this is your opportunity to present rebuttal testimony.
For that one incident?
Well, and others that you felt like came up in the testimony of the respondent's witnesses. I know that was the one that you were trying to present new evidence. So you can start there if you want, and then.
I just know the driver who shut the door on me, he did not say anything. I did not see. He looked at my way and then shut the door and then just left. And I didn't see him say anything. And there were like, I don't remember if anyone got on the bus before me. I just, because it happened so fast, but that's just all I have to say is I did not see him or hear him say anything. I mean, if it was that loud, I would have heard. He should have spoken louder. And I just, don't feel that that's the proper way to deal with people in my situation.
All right. Any other testimony? Any other new information that you need to address?
No, that's all.
All right. Attorney Wood, any
I have nothing
cross-examination?
else.
Okay.
No.
All right. All right. So I prefer closing arguments, especially in a case like this. Are the parties okay with just doing closing arguments on the record? So, Ms. Hurd, this would be an opportunity for you to summarize all the testimony. You've kind of been making some argument along the way that happens with pro se people, especially. But if you want to, you can summarize all the testimony and then why you think it's a violation. Attorney, what are you okay with doing closing arguments in lieu of
Yes.
any post-hearing briefs? Okay.
Yes.
So, Ms. Hurd, if you want to provide a closing argument, a summary of the evidence and why you think it shows the discrimination.
I'm sorry, you said if it happens in what, probate?
No, so sometimes parties want to do a post-hearing brief,
Oh, post-hearing.
but that's not typically necessary. Most pro se people don't want to. That's where you have to write it down in a brief after the fact. I think it's easiest. I prefer just closing arguments, and you've kind of been making some argument. So
Yeah, I stated everything that I wanted to, and I just, even if I don't feel that drivers should be treating people like this, especially, I know they get a lot of complaints, and Metro gets a lot of complaints, but when it's from special needs riders, I think they should be given priority, and they should treat it better, which now on the feedback forms, now it says there's a box to check for a wheelchair if you're disabled. And it's just, I don't feel that, it's a public accommodation and they should be aware of these things. And even if I feel like, these drivers were treating this like a joke, and even if it's a joke, it doesn't make it any less discriminating or less illegal, even if, they're just, that's how I feel. Like they were just thinking as a joke. We'll just keep treating her like this until she gets it right, or until she's the way that we want her to be. Because I believe it was a pattern of abuse, and it has stopped since. But I don't know, because things could calm down and then start up again. And that's all I have to say.
all right, Attorney Wood.
The Wisconsin Public Accommodation and Amusement Law prohibits people from denying access or giving preferential treatment to people based on their protected categories. The testimony and the evidence today showed that the complainant was offered full and equal enjoyment of Metro transit services. In fact, she specifically said that she has utilized transit and paratransit approximately 5 times a week during this time period, and that she was never denied access to the bus. In regard to the accommodation requests, the testimony established that Metro Transit investigated those and researched those requests and made the determination based on the ADA regulations that they are required to comply with. Ms. Hare also testified to the fact that she worked with Metro Transit and that these issues were amicably resolved. In regard to the driver complaints, Ms. Hare did not meet her burden that to establish that she was treated any differently or singled out due to any protected class. First, she raised an issue about a driver telling her to quit playing games. She testified to the fact that she believed that this incident was related to the fact that she had pulled or signaled that she wanted to get off, and she was tired and confused, and she then said she didn't need to get off, and then she did in fact need to get off, not related to gender, race, or disability. In regards to the second complaint about a driver driving off, the testimony established that the bus was full to capacity, and no other, to our knowledge, no other members of the public got on the bus. So there was no showing of any differential treatment by Ms. Hare. Both of these issues also offer legitimate non-discriminatory reasons for the conduct that's alleged. The complainant's complaint about the drivers is purely speculation as far as if she was discriminated against. There is no evidence to show that the drivers had any bias towards her based on a protected category. So for those reasons, the respondent would ask that a finding of no probable cause be issued and the complaint be dismissed.
All right, thank you. Thank you both. That concludes all the testimony and argument. We will close the record. There will be a written findings of fact, conclusion of law that will be issued here in the future. Let me go ahead and stop the recording. All right, so I did stop the recording. Ms. Hare, I'm glad that it sounds like things have improved from your perspective with Madison Metro. That I'm always